The basketball world was shaken on May 12, 2026. Brandon Clarke, a talented forward for the Memphis Grizzlies, was suddenly reported dead at the age of 29. The news spread rapidly across the NBA community, leaving fans, teammates, and coaches in shock. At this moment, officials have not released the full details surrounding what happened. And as investigations continue, many questions remain unanswered about the final hours of his life. This is the story of Brandon Clarke. Brandon Clarke was born on September 19, 1996, in Vancouver, Canada. From an early age, sports became more than just a hobby, they became his identity. After moving to the United States, Clarke grew up in Arizona, where competitive basketball culture pushed him to develop quickly. Unlike many future NBA stars, Clarke wasn't instantly recognized as a prodigy. He wasn't heavily recruited. He wasn't surrounded by national attention. But what he had was something harder to measure: work ethic. Every practice mattered. Every repetition mattered. And slowly, that foundation began to build a player who would eventually surprise everyone. At Desert Vista High School, Clarke began to show signs of his future potential. He wasn't a superstar recruit, but coaches noticed something different about him. He played harder than everyone else. He defended with intensity. He finished plays with aggression. Still, major college programs weren't rushing to offer him scholarships. That lack of attention became fuel. Instead of discouraging him, it pushed him forward. Clarke started his college career at San Jose State. It was there that he began to show real flashes of his defensive instincts and athletic ability. But his impact was still developing. He wasn't yet the polished NBA-level prospect fans would later recognize. Still, scouts began to notice something important. When Clarke was on the floor, the game felt different. He affected shots without scoring. He changed possessions without touching the ball. That kind of impact is rare. Everything changed when Clarke transferred to Gonzaga University. This was the turning point of his career. At Gonzaga, Brandon Clarke transformed into one of the most dominant two-way players in college basketball. He became a shot-blocking machine, a high-efficiency scorer, a transition nightmare for defenders. He wasn't just good anymore. He was one of the best players in the country. His performances turned heads nationally. Suddenly, the same player who was once overlooked was now a serious NBA prospect. By the end of his Gonzaga run, Clarke had established himself as a top-tier defensive forward with elite athletic ability and efficiency. In the 1999 NBA draft, Brandon Clarke was selected 21st overall and traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. For Memphis, this was a defining moment. They weren't just drafting a player. They were adding energy, defense, and versatility to a young rebuilding core. Clarke entered the league ready to contribute immediately. No development delay. No waiting period. Just impact. From the moment he stepped onto an NBA court, Clarke made his presence felt. He ran the floor with speed. He finished plays above the rim. He defended multiple positions. And, most importantly, he played with fearlessness. Fans quickly embraced him as one of the most exciting young players on the roster. Coaches trusted him. Teammates relied on him. And Memphis saw him as a key part of their future. But like many professional athletes, the NBA grind eventually caught up with him. Injuries began to interrupt his rhythm. What started as minor issues gradually turned into recurring setbacks. Missed games became more frequent. Recovery periods became longer. And consistency became harder to maintain. Despite this, Clarke never changed his attitude. He remained focused. He remained disciplined. But availability is everything in professional sports. And slowly, that became the challenge he could not fully control. As time went on, younger players entered the league. Competition increased. Rotations changed. And Clarke's role began to shift. He was still respected, still valued, but no longer in the spotlight the same way. Behind the scenes, those close to him described him as quiet, focused, professional, but also carrying the pressure of a career that wasn't unfolding the way many had once predicted. In the later stage of his career, Clarke's presence on the court became less frequent. He spent more time recovering and training than competing. There were hopes of a full return. There were expectations of a comeback season, but uncertainty began to grow around his future in the league. Then came the moment that changed everything. News broke that emergency responders had been called regarding Clarke. At first, details were unclear. Then confirmation followed that he had passed away. The basketball world was stunned. But at that moment, the full explanation behind what happened had not yet been made public. Authorities have stated that the circumstances surrounding his passing remain under investigation. An official medical report and full explanation have not yet been released to the public. Because of that, many questions remain unanswered, and speculation continues across media platforms. Tributes immediately began pouring in. Players expressed shock. Coaches shared memories. Fans revisited his highlights. He was remembered as a high-energy competitor, a respected teammate, a player who always gave full effort. The NBA community mourned not just a player, but a person who had earned respect through hard work and humility. On May 12, 2026, Brandon Clarke was confirmed dead at the age of 29. Authorities have not yet released an official cause of death. Investigators are currently reviewing the circumstances, and a full report is expected once the autopsy process is completed. While early media speculation has suggested a possible overdose investigation, no official confirmation has been made at this time. Brandon Clarke's journey is a reminder of how quickly careers and lives can change. From overlooked prospect to college star to NBA contributor, his path was built on persistence and effort. And while many questions remain, his impact on the game is clear. Every time he stepped on the court, he brought intensity, he brought energy, and he left everything he had in the game he loved. This is the story of Brandon Clarke,